Hey everyone, my name is Alan Gerard Dineros, pronounces he, him, his, and I'm currently a third year chemical engineering major with a minor in management. Just so we get to know each other, I'll explain who I am and who I can be for Fusion as secretary for the following school year. You may or may not know me, and if you don't, I don't blame you, since I haven't been as active as I was in fall quarter, but that's besides the point. I joined Fusion looking for new friends to call family, to expand my horizons in the midst of the pandemic, and lo and behold, I was invited by the current publicity director, my friend Gabe, and met some of the kindest souls on the planet, the people that are hearing my voice right now. With each general meeting I went to, with each laugh I get from the family group chat, despite being inactive in it, and every, hey, it's Alan, I felt loved and welcomed by the community, and each hello went a long way. As secretary, I want to extend that love and those welcoming greetings to each one of you, and the new members will get along the way. I'd like to extend that kindness to our alumni, who know that kindness better than we do, but a reminder never hurt anyone. As secretary, I'll be organized and keep the board coordinated. If you know me, you'll know I'm a big note taker with information organized beyond what's necessary so that everything can run smoothly. As expected, I will be sending weekly newsletters and creating the Fusion yearbook as part of my job as secretary, which I've actually had past experience in back in high school. I was my school Key Club's publicist and web director, in which I formatted my own weekly flyer and even bought and designed my own website for the organization. Although that was years ago, I was an officer for 3 years straight, sophomore to senior year, and that type of experience is hard to forget. I'd also like to continue to implement the Fusion podcast, even when we're back in person, as part of my plan to connect Fusion to our alumni. In addition, I plan on implementing an in-person coffee hours with the alumni next year, in which I'm essentially your wingman to your date with an alumni whose story and background piques your interest and would like to know more about them, as they know more about you and how we're doing as the current Fusion members. All in all, I would like to extend the love and kindness that I've experienced from Fusion back to Fusion. I've had many laughs and good times with this little family, and in this past year, it has given me memories, such that I will remember Fusion as one of the things that made me smile in the middle of a global pandemic. I hope to give that smile back to you as the organizer of the organization. Thank you for your time.
Okay, are we ready for questions? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. RJ.
Wow, good job, Alan. That was my first time hearing that platform. I didn't hear any practice or anything.
Okay.
Yes. My name is RJ, pronouns are he, him, his. And could you please expand on your idea of having the coffee program thing you have with alumni?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, what I was thinking about was, because I noticed we had coffee hours, I believe it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, it was a Friday. But essentially, I noticed that the podcasts were really cool, really, really cool. And since we're going back in person next year, I figured it might as well be an in-person podcast. And then I was thinking, okay, well, if it's in-person podcast, why am I the only one that should be connecting to the alumni? It should also be, our members. And so when it came to the podcast, usually it was only Kevin and someone else, right? And so I was thinking, I mean, sure, I have my own questions, but our members should too. And so, yeah, if you know, like dating sims and stuff, it's like, you get to know the person, you find out their interests, they'll find out yours. And so, yeah, I'll basically be connecting. It's not just one-on-ones, but groups of people with the alumni, because if I were to put myself in the alumni shoes, if it was a formal setting, I'd kind of be less likely to come to connect with present Fusion members. But if it was more informal, just hanging out, talking about yourself and talking about them, it's just basically just hanging out. I figured it would work very well and lead to bigger things. Start off small and grow in the middle of it. So yeah, that was my plan for the coffee hours. It was just essentially an in-person podcast, but with members in addition to the alumni. So yeah.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Alan.
Mm-hmm.
Great question, RJ. Thank you. We have a little over 2 minutes on the clock, so raise your hand or put it in the chat. All right, Kevin.
Hello, my name is Kevin, pronouns he, him, his. I'm the current Fusion Secretary for this year. Alan, what an amazing platform. It was so good. Put a smile on my face. Just wanted to know if there, in terms of the position itself and like or what I did for this past year, is there anything that you would improve upon in terms of the secretary position?
Yeah. So after watching like previous Q&As and stuff, I noticed that this is a question that was asked. And so I was thinking about it, and I was thinking more of the professionalism, or I guess sometimes the lack thereof. I couldn't tell that Kevin was a board member until sometime in winter quarter when I asked myself, is that the same Kevin that's sending the newsletter? Um, if I didn't see Kevin's name on the board's list or on the newsletter or Facebook, I wouldn't have known. Not to say that it was a horrible thing, because Kevin made me laugh a lot, smile a lot, and whenever I joined a voice channel. In an informal setting, he was very charming and welcoming, and very, very funny. It made me feel welcome, and as far as I can tell, he did his job well with the newsletter and everything else in the podcast. I could tell the job was done very well. It was just the unprofessionalism that I saw that stood out to me. But I guess the only thing I do differently is just balancing the formality with the informality. Both are great in their own respective ways, but have to be balanced to avoid complications. So yeah, just in moderation. So yeah, that's my only critique, I guess.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Ayana, you're up next.
Hi, I don't think we've had the opportunity to share space, but hi, I'm Ayana, pronounced she, her, hers. So my question to you is, what do you feel is your main weakness when it comes to the position of secretary, and how will you overcome it?
So one of the things that I know that I'm lacking in is just experience in Fusion in general. Since next year, odds are everything will be back to normal at best, and I'd say my lack of knowledge in in-person Fusion is my biggest weakness. One thing I'll say about that is that um, I don't know everything, and I won't pretend to. And that's why it's not my sole job to plan everything. That's what a board is for. It's a team effort, and I'll know when I'll step up when I can, and stand down when I need help. I know what I know, and I'll learn what I don't know, essentially. If need be, I can simply be the secretary that writes everything down for everyone, and keeps everything organized. But also, if need be, I can also be the voice that can lead a discussion. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ayana. Up next, Gabe.
Hey, Alan, great platform, man. I really appreciate the shout out. That was very unexpected, but I'm glad I gave you a family infusion because, you gave me a family shout out to Liwanag. But my main question is that you clearly have a lot of ambitions for the club among the many duties of secretary. And from our hangouts, I know chemical engineering is difficult. So how do you plan to manage and work with Fusion with your other responsibilities?
Right. So balancing responsibilities. Pressure is nothing new to me, nor do I think it is for most of us. I mean, if I couldn't do chemical engineering, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have done it. I'm easy to back up. But Google Calendar is something I use almost every day to organize my weeks, maybe even months ahead of time. And surely with great management skills, I can set aside time to balance other responsibilities aside from Fusion. One of the things I know that help with balancing things is communication. Schedule conflicts can be easily fixed through communication and negotiation. So clearly communicating availability is a way to balance everything left and right. So yeah, and school will be my problem, no one else's.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gabe. And lastly, we have Austin.
Hello, Alan. That was an amazing platform, by the way. Great job, homie. Austin, pronounced he, him, his. So you mentioned coffee hours, but regarding a hybrid system, how often do you plan to notify and reach out to alumni? like would it be like on a quarterly basis, and would it include special events?
Right. If I remember correctly, the Fusion podcast was planned to be about 2 per quarter. And basically, coffee hours, if a podcast, it's like a, essentially, it's a addition to the Fusion podcast. It's almost like a branch off of it, since it was such a great idea. So family that's far away is family nonetheless. So I want to make sure that if there's no way to meet with the alumni, like say they're far away, then it'll just be like you said, it would be hybrid, and so it would be virtual. And like what was happening this year, I'd post it. But if there's a chance that they can be in person and they can come, then the coffee hours would take place instead. And so it's basically what I said during when RJ asked it earlier. It's a Fusion podcast in person, and so that's where the hybrid thing comes from. Either it's virtual or it's not. And yeah, and even then, if someone actually wanted to come along and join the podcast, I might let them. If like maybe through a Google form or something. So yeah.
All right.
I didn't notice you posted more. I'm sorry, but yeah.